To the Index, former First Lady Jill Biden's ex-husband now facing murder charges in the death of his current wife.
A quiet suburban street. Darkness. Then, red and blue strobing across perfectly trimmed lawns. Inside, officers find her. Linda Stevenson, 68 years old. Cold. Still. Her husband, a man once married to a nationally recognized public figure, a man with degrees and dinner parties and decades of respectability, stands in the hallway. He says nothing at first. The neighbors didn't hear screaming. There were no broken windows, no signs of forced entry. Just silence. And one question no one thought they'd be asking. What happened behind that door? Because this wasn't a random attack. This wasn't a stranger in the night. This was home. And in cases like these, home is often the most dangerous place of all. You're watching the exposed crime. We tell the stories that need to be told. Domestic violence, toxic relationships, and the lives lost behind closed doors. No sugarcoating, no excuses, just the truth. If you are new here, subscribe and join us as we shed light on stories the world needs to hear. He had a name people recognized, not his own, but the one he used to share. Married once to a woman the public adored. Fundraisers, charity galas, newspaper clippings, with smiling faces and champagne glasses. That marriage ended. Quietly. Cleanly. Years later, he remarried. Linda was different. Private. Reserved. They lived modestly. He was educated. Soft-spoken. Neighbors described him as polite. Harmless. Never caused any trouble, one said. But respectability is a costume, and costumes come off. On paper, he looked like someone you'd trust. A grandfather, a retired professional. The kind of man who'd help you jumpstart your car or offer gardening advice over the fence. But no one asks what happens when the fence is gone. No one wonders what a man hides when the cameras aren't flashing. Old photographs show stability. But photographs freeze time. They don't show what happens in between the smiles. Community records painted him as unremarkable. Boring, even. And that's exactly how danger survives. By blending in. People trusted him because there was no reason not to. Until there was. But public history only shows what people allow you to see. Linda Stevenson wasn't in the headlines. She didn't attend galas or pose for photos. She was quiet, almost invisible. Friends described her as kind, but distant. She stopped answering calls, stopped showing up to gatherings. She seemed tired, one neighbor recalled. The marriage lasted years, but those years carried weight. Financial strain surfaced in whispers, health concerns, long silences between sentences at dinner parties they no longer attended. Late-night voices drifted through windows, muffled, sharp, then nothing. One neighbor mentioned hearing something shatter once. Probably just a dish, they said. No one knocked. No one asked. Because asking means involvement, and involvement means responsibility. Behind the walls, tension built like steam in a sealed room. Isolation crept in slowly. First social events, then phone calls, then the outside world entirely. Linda became a shadow in her own home, and shadows don't scream, they disappear. By the time anyone noticed, it was too late. The home that once symbolized comfort was slowly becoming a pressure chamber. And pressure, eventually, explodes. Date logged, time stamped, dispatch sent. Officers arrived to a house lit only by street lamps and the glow of a television left on. The door was unlocked. Inside, stillness. Linda Stevenson lay unresponsive. Medics confirmed what officers already knew. She was gone. He stood in the hallway, calm, detached, his hands at his sides. No tears, no panic, no explanation. "I need to speak to a lawyer," he said. That was it. Neighbors gathered on lawns, arms crossed, confused. "What happened?" someone asked. No one answered. Crime scene tape went up. Evidence bags came out. Cameras flashed in the dark. Forensic teams worked through the night, photographing, measuring, collecting. The house became a puzzle. Every corner, every object, a potential piece. But puzzles only work when you know what the picture's supposed to be. Early reports said little. Cause of death, undetermined pending autopsy. Circumstances, under investigation. Nothing official, nothing clear. Just a body. A husband. And silence louder than any scream. In the hours that followed, silence became louder than any scream, and the questions started circling like vultures. Months passed. The investigation didn't. Detectives dug deep. Financial records, phone logs, medical history. Bank statements showed tension. Arguments over money, over control, over small things that became big things. Digital footprints revealed Google searches, timelines, contradictions. Witnesses came forward, slowly, reluctantly. One recalled heated words weeks before. Another mentioned bruises Linda tried to hide. "I didn't want to assume," they said. Assumptions cost lives. Forensic evidence painted a darker picture. Injuries inconsistent with an accident. Signs of struggle. A grand jury convened. Evidence presented. Testimonies given. Then, the decision. Indictment. Charges. Murder. The media erupted. His name, once tied to prestige, now linked to homicide. People who once smiled at him in grocery stores now looked away. But behind the headlines, complexity lurked. Aging, isolation, stress fractures in a decades-long life. None of it justified, but all of it real. What investigators uncovered wasn't just evidence, it was a timeline of unraveling. And unraveling doesn't happen overnight. It happens in whispers, in closed doors, in moments no one witnesses until it's too late. The courtroom filled, bail denied, detention ordered. Defense attorneys argued one narrative, prosecutors built another. Both claiming truth, both demanding belief. The public watched, divided. Some saw a man destroyed by grief. Others saw a killer hiding behind age and civility. Legal guilt and moral perception rarely align. Presumption of innocence is law, but suspicion is human. Evidence stacked up, forensic, testimonial, circumstantial. But evidence doesn't always answer why. Why does a marriage become a murder scene? Why does silence replace conversation? Why does love, or what we call love, turn lethal? The trial looms. Verdicts wait. But some questions don't have answers. Some doors stay locked. Linda Stevenson is gone, her voice silenced forever. And the man accused? He waits. Silent. Still. Justice will speak. But will it speak loud enough? Sometimes the darkest stories aren't those with clear endings, but those that force us to question how well we truly know the people behind closed doors. On If This Story Reached You, if it stirred something in your chest, don't let it fade when the video ends. These cases remind us that danger can hide in the everyday, that silence can cost lives, and that sometimes the smallest voice can be the one that saves someone. If you know anybody in a violent or unsafe situation, don't wait. Say something. Call for help. Speak up. Your voice might be the one thing standing between someone and a tragedy like this. Drop a comment. Share this video. Keep their names alive. And we'll be back with another story that needs to be told. This is The Exposed Crime. Stay safe out there.